Welcome to the Bucket Plan on Demand, a podcast for financial advisors based on the best-selling book and process that simplifies financial planning. Hear from skilled industry professionals and special guests each episode that will help perfect your approach with clients and your results.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Kirsten Schlumbohm, Vice President and Head of Annuity Sales here at C2P. I'm also the voice behind A Women's Clarity. So I've gotten an opportunity to really work with the ladies of C2P and learn why the bucket planning process is a fantastic opportunity for our female clients. I'm excited to have our two guest baristas today, so don't be shy, ask questions because they're very knowledgeable. First, I'd like to welcome Grace Nicholson, founder of Akamai Advisors, where Grace is passionate about helping clients, especially women, achieve financial independence through personalized retirement planning, tax-free income strategies, and long-term care solutions. With years of experience, and though she only looks like she's 18, she's got several years of experience in the insurance and financial services industries. Grace is known for her ability to simplify complex concepts and build long-lasting relationships based on trust. So welcome, Grace. Our second barista is dear to my heart, Lisa Chenet. She is an investment advisor representative, certified financial fiduciary. That's easy to say at 8 o'clock in the morning. And a licensed insurance producer at CLP Financial Group with Mr. Leonard Parsons. Now, with a lifelong foundation in financial services, she has grown up in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and was inspired by her father's success in the industry. Lisa developed a passion for helping individuals, especially women, take control of their financial futures through education and simplified financial concepts. Welcome, Lisa. I'm so excited to have both of you here today. So welcome, both of you.
Thanks so much, Kirsten. It's great to be here with you.
It's fun to be here with me at 8 a.m. West Coast time to see if I can actually speak. So I appreciate your patience through the introductions. I'm going to kick off our first question to Grace. What has been your current experience using the bucket plan on your or with your women clients?
Yeah, it's been a game changer. I started using the bucket plan almost a year ago. I joined C2P in May. And it's just been a game changer to help women visualize their financial future with clarity and confidence by time segmenting the money. I think that so many women are very conservative and want that security and predictability, and the current advisors they're working with don't segment that for them. And a lot of times they just feel like they're gambling with a lot of their wealth. So I think that it's been a great tool for my practice and really earned a lot of trust from more women.
Fabulous. And Lisa, same question for you as a financial coach to women.
I agree with Grace. It has been a game changer. I was lucky that I've only known the C2P way, the bucket plan way. And the clients like it that it simplifies what can feel like an overwhelming process. And many women, especially those who are single, widowed, or divorced, are managing their finances sometimes for the first time. And the structured approach of the now, soon, and later bucket gives them the clarity and confidence. And instead of worrying about market fluctuations or whether they'll have enough, they can clearly see which assets are for immediate needs, which will grow over time, and which are reserved for later years. So that peace of mind is invaluable.
Women want to be educated. They want to be part of the process. Every article or every piece of research that I've done to help women in financial services, that's been a key component. Grace, is there a particular part of the bucket planning process that you feel resonates most with your female clients when you go through the process?
Yeah, I think that they appreciate the whole process like all of our clients do, men, women in general. But I would say that to your point of education and their desire to be educated, I really feel that going through the money cycle and the pyramid of risk and educating, using that as an education tool and a validating tool is just so great for women because, like you said, they want to learn, they want to be educated, they don't want to be talked over. And so by giving this foundation and kind of giving them the authority to decide, oh, I like that, I don't want this part of my plan, I think that pyramid of risk is an awesome tool that is a great part for them. Another thing I think is as far as the buckets themselves, I think that women kind of gravitate to the soon bucket. It provides that stability, but still focuses on growing their asset. It's not just lazy money, which a lot of women and men have laying on the sidelines. We can teach them how to put that money to good use, but it still be there, for that rainy day when there's market volatility or whatnot.
I think you shared a stat with me yesterday, Grace. Was it 80% of women leave their husband's or parents' financial advisor because they don't have that relationship?
Yeah, more than. Mhm.
More than. And yes, compliance, I know you're listening. We will provide you with the statistics to back that up. Now, Lisa, women often find themselves in a unique situation. We have longer life expectancy. We have career gaps. There is caring for our parents or our spouses and children. How do you incorporate the bucket plan with these situations in mind, knowing that these are top concerns and priorities for women?
Good question. Women tend to live longer, so our money has to last longer. And like you said, they take time off to take care of aging parents and children, and that impacts their savings and Social Security benefits if they're not in the workforce, building up that Social Security check. The bucket plan allows me to structure their retirement with these realities in mind. So, for example, like Grace said, I often focus on strengthening the soon bucket to provide stability during these transitional periods. I also make sure that their later bucket includes inflation protected assets like long-term care planning, life insurance, so they don't have to worry about running out of money later in life, which is something that most women care about and worry about. The bucket plan is about building flexibility into their financial plan while making sure that women feel secure at every stage of the planning.
I think we're done. Is there anything left to say, Lisa?
That was a great answer.
That was a fabulous answer. I always tell people when I talk with people about what I do, what the opportunities I get to do every day is I get to change lives. I get to help people enter into retirement with a streamlined process. And my female friends are like, what do you mean? I'm just told to invest my money. So educating them and helping them understand the time segment of the buckets of money is so powerful because you see the eyes open and get wide and wonder, really, I can do this. I can retire. And you're like, you bet you can. It's an amazing feeling. So, Grace, when working with women clients, is there any particular goals or concerns that influence how you allocate their assets to the three different buckets?
Of course, yes. I would say, of course, every client is different. So it's hard to speak generally, but I would say that a lot of the women I talk to have some of the same concerns and priorities. When we go through that tool, I would say that maintaining independence, not being a burden to families, is always ranked one for most of these women I talk to. You may have the same experience, Lisa. And it's surprising that most people don't have a plan in place for that, to not be a burden on their families and their kids. And when we talk about how that really affects the family and the impact on the adult children and the grandchildren, people want to have a plan. So they need to be educated about what their options are. And I would say that part of what I try and do in every meeting is find a way and determine if it makes sense to allocate a portion to the soon bucket that will cover, maybe 5 or 10 years of payments toward a long-term care, asset-based long-term care plan for their later bucket in the future to kind of protect the rest of their portfolio and the peace of mind for that family. We're going through it with my own family right now, and my husband's father going into long-term care. And like so many of you have experienced, it's a lot to take on for the family. So I would say that's an area that I really focus on because I would say 5 out of 6 families I talk to, it's a really, top concern need that they don't have planned for.
Well, it's a concern of mine with both my parents with a different form of dementia. I don't have children. God didn't bless me with having kids. I know my dog's not going to take care of me. So I need an advisor like you that would say, hey, Kirsten, this is one of your top concerns. I hear what you're saying. Now let's talk about the plan that we can put in place, whether it's long-term care or living benefits on a life insurance policy. And did you just see Stoyan perk up when we said life insurance? I just saw a great smile there. So, but it's important to have these conversations that we address because if women need to feel heard and seen, we need to acknowledge their top priorities, even though it might be a second appointment or third appointment conversation. We need to make sure we're addressing those concerns.
Let me piggyback on what Grace said about the concerns and priorities. That is a really, really good tool. I had one client, and at the bottom of the concerns and priorities, there's an other. and she has 3 show dogs. And that was a concern. What's going to happen to my dogs if I die? Because the husband was not into dogs. So that is a conversation we were able to have. So use the concerns and priorities. That's a powerful tool. So
That could be a whole another topic for a coffee break or for the seniors and what they do with their aging animals once they no longer can care for themselves or their animals. Because for the animal lovers out there, that is a concern. I actually have it written into my plan if something happens to Jeff and I at the same time, who is responsible for taking care of my beasts? And anybody who knows me knows that my animals are everything. So thank you for bringing that up, Lisa. But I do have another question for you, Lisa. When we did our podcast last year, we talked about you being a financial coach, that why women need a financial coach. How does the bucket planning process help you coach women into retirement? And how does this process help you? Because this is your quote, you give women permission to spend their money. How does it help you do that?
Well, like you said, one of the biggest challenges women face is they don't want to run out of money. And they've worked so hard. They've saved. We're told, save money, put it in your 401k. And once you leave the job and you retire, they still carry that mindset of scarcity and they're worried that they'll outlive their money. I don't care how much money they have. We were at one of the C2P events and Dave Allison was talking about he has this wealthy woman and it's the same thing. She has all this money, but she's still worried about running out of money. So that is something that when you show, if you show a client the different buckets, you can shift that mindset because when they see that their now bucket covers their immediate needs, their soon and later buckets are designed for stability and growth, they start to relax. And like you said, I tell them the money is here for you to use. Why are you working and then retiring if you're not going to spend the money? If you don't spend it, your beneficiaries are going to spend it. So you planned for all this. This is why you came to me, you come to a financial advisor, you do the bucket plan. That reassures them and gives them permission that they need to enjoy their retirement. Sometimes they just need that permission because they were always told to save. No one ever told them to spend it. And as an advisor, once you have the bucket plan in place for them, you can show them visually, and I'm a visual learner, you can show them visually, look, this is what you have, and these are the buckets, and this is why you can go on that trip. You can buy your grandchild that car.
You also use another phrase when you're working with your female clients that you like to use, you need to, like what the airlines talk about, you put your oxygen mask on first. Can you also elaborate how that helps you build the trust with women? Because that's huge. And two, helps them give themselves permission. Do you want to share a little bit more on that, expound on that for us, please?
So I don't know where I stole this idea from, but I use it. I always say, like in the airplane, the flight attendants always say if that air thingy comes down, you put it on your face first, and then you take care of your children and whoever's there. And for women, that is a thing that that's a concept I have to talk to them about because, and I know I was like this, our mindset is always on taking care of others. So when is it our turn to take care of ourselves? When you're a couple, if the husband gets sick, the wife will do everything, spend as much money as she needs to take care of her husband. But then when the husband dies, because men tend to die first, statistically, where's the money left over for herself? So I had this case where this woman, we did that. We showed her how to separate it. And I remember when her husband went into a care facility, it cost $6,000 a month. And I remember her telling me, hey, we're going to turn on his income so we have more income. And I know you told me not to turn on mine because that's for me when I get to be my old age. So it's you have to delineate, you have to separate that because money is not infinite and you have to work with what the client has.
What do you mean it's not infinite? I just go to the ATM, I put my card in, money shoots out. I write these little things called checks and they
I
give me
still have checks in my checkbook. So what do you mean I have no money? Yep.
Grace, you want to piggyback on anything that Lisa has shared with us regarding putting your oxygen mask on and giving women permission to spend? Because I also know you have those similar conversations.
Of course. Yeah. The permission to spend, a lot of it comes from, I think, what people learn as they're growing up from their parents. And it's kind of a cultural thing. Well, I don't know cultural, but a lot of families watch their parents save, 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 almost hoard money. And that was the generation, of that time. They didn't spend a lot. And a lot of the emphasis was on the legacy that they leave to the kids and the grandkids. Things have shifted, right? These generations now, baby boomers and every generation below, I think they care about legacy, but it's not the core focus where they're going to hoard all their wealth like the silent generation did. So a lot of people learn, from their parents as they're growing up, how to view money, the money psychology. Like Lisa said, the scarcity mindset is rampant amongst women, but not just women. It's like just depending on how people grew up and what they learned. So giving them a license to spend includes setting up a properly structured plan so that they can also leave that legacy to their kids and grandkids. And that's life insurance. 99.9% of the time, it's life insurance to structure it so that they still feel like they're giving that legacy and their family's still coming out ahead, but they didn't have to hoard every dollar that they have saved to accomplish that. They can still live the life they want, take the vacations, spend money on their grandkids and enjoy that while also being able to leave something behind that's leveraged and tax-free if we can.
I love that. I came from like hardworking farmers. So it was, 50% of your paycheck went into savings, the rest of it went towards your bills. So it's a permission. It's that scarcity mindset because you never know when things are going to change. So I love that. There is there's trillions of dollars that are going to be transitioned in the scenario of that great wealth transfer. And 48 to 52% of that's going to go to women. So this question is for you, Grace and Lisa. When you're working with women, when they're working on their transition or they're working on their legacy plan, how does the bucket plan simplify the decision-making process and provide clarity to those that are overwhelmed? Because I know of some women who are trying to figure out how to structure and what to do, and they feel overwhelmed because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or they don't want to leave somebody out. So how does this help simplify the decision-making process? I'll start with you, Lisa.
Gosh, yeah. Legacy planning, that's an emotional topic, but it's one of the most important conversations we can have because a lot of times the couples think legacy planning is what I leave behind to my children or to my church or to, leave behind. And with the bucket plan, we show them that legacy planning is also for your spouse because one of you is going to outlive the other. And I always tell the couples, I'm like, okay, when I build this plan, I'm going to kill one of you off so that the other person can you have to put some levity in it. You have to make them, because a lot of people don't want to talk about death and dying, and I always tell them that I'm going to pay special attention to the lower income spouse because we cannot start thinking about leave behind money until we figure out what is the surviving spouse going to do. If the higher income spouse dies, it usually is she, the lower income spouse. She is going to lose a couple of checks, possibly a pension check. One of the Social Security checks will be gone. The income checks that are gone, it creates a significant challenge of loss of income in terms of legacy for her. So I make sure the later bucket, like Grace said, is structured to provide the security and peace of mind. Life insurance is very important in the later bucket. Long-term care, it doesn't have to be long-term care insurance, but just what are you going to do? And I say this, what are you going to do when someone needs to put your diapers on? And it makes them think. You have to have those hard conversations with them. You cannot sugarcoat. You're not going to, we all want to just die in our sleep. That's not the reality. My father was in hospice. We were blessed. He was only in hospice for 2 weeks, but there have been people in hospice for months. And what are you going to pay, like my client, the $6,000 a month? She had to do that for, I think, 6 months before her husband passed away. So like when I talk about legacy, I plan first for the spouse that's there. And then we talk about what you're going to do with whatever's money left over. So I hope that answered the question.
It does. Grace, do you have anything you want to add?
I think that just by helping women to, some women really want to be taking the driver's seat of their financial position. Maybe they are recently divorced and this is their first opportunity to be in the driver's seat. I've got a few like that. But there's a lot that just want me to hold their hand and tell them everything's going to be okay. And the now bucket and the soon bucket are that seat belt that kind of make them feel okay, that I can say, we're just holding your hand through this. We've got this money for the later bucket, but you have a time horizon that we built on purpose. So I would just say that it provides a lot of comfort that they lack in a lot of other advisors outside of C2P's process, because they're not time segmenting the money and specifically saying, it's okay for you to have money in your checking, savings, money market with no pressure to make anything, because that's your emergency fund. And, not everyone makes them feel comfortable about that. So I just think it's a nice way to provide comfort and sort of nurturing for the women that really need it as part of this transitional planning.
We move the needle together to help both male and female clients. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second, Grace and Lisa, and if anybody else wants to jump in as well. When we look at the bucket planning, is there any common misconceptions or concerns that women have when they hear about the bucket plan? Any like roadblocks or flags that pop up that you have to overcome for them to embrace the entire process?
I don't, because I follow the process. You have the questionnaire that you have. It's very robust. Go to the bucket plan training 1 and 2. They're awesome. We have to go every year. And what I do is I'll alternate. 1 year I'll do the 1 again, and next year I'll do the 2 again. If you go through the process the way C2P has set it up, I haven't come with an objection, because it makes a complicated process run smoother, and it makes it intentional. So the clients know when and where I'm spending my money and for what, whether you're building a Social Security bridge with an annuity or whether you're telling them about money markets and CDs. It gives them a roadmap. And most advisors outside of C2P, the clients don't have a roadmap. They always say to me, oh, wow, I've never done this before. I've never looked at it this way before. This is so simple. Why haven't I been shown this before?
Grace?
I would like to add that the simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Thank you, Dave Allison, for teaching me that phrase, because I use it every day. And I have to agree with Lisa that I do not have roadblocks from women or really anyone when it comes to the bucket plan process and the tools, because like Lisa said, I use them exactly as I'm trained to, like we all do. And it's a natural flow. It's very comprehensive and it's simple. So there aren't really roadblocks to it. I would say, though, that a potential roadblock in working with women is not leaning into the connection. And I think that it can be scary to get emotional with clients or let them get emotional with you and, share that vulnerability about their situation. But if you can do it and you can really be there for them, it's just a comfort. I'm not saying get out, start crying with your clients, but if they're crying to you, don't be weird about it. Don't be weird, let them feel comfortable, because this is big stuff for a lot of these people. Sometimes they're lost their partner of 40 years or their marriage is ending. It's really, really important to just lean into that vulnerability so that they feel connected, because ultimately this is a relationship business. It's, personal finance is 80% personal and 20% finance. We have to really connect with our people.
Yeah, our connection questionnaire really does help with that. So I guess a best practice, in my opinion, would be don't read it, learn your script, be able to pivot and be vulnerable. And I know it's hard for women and men to be vulnerable at times because we don't want to show that, but just acknowledging their feelings and showing empathy builds that trust with women. We need to feel that you hear us and you see us and you're setting the table that we want set, not the one you want to set for us, even though the outcome might be your plan that we didn't know was important to us. So it's so important to have the connection. So both of you, thank you for sharing that. Grace, how can advisors position the soon bucket because it's there to protect from market volatility. And how does that, I guess we probably already covered this a little bit, but I want to just really hit home. How does that help give women a peace of mind? This soon bucket helping with that volatility, especially today. Everyone's
Yeah.
nervous.
I know people are nervous about the market, things are volatile. And so I use the soon bucket as that hedge against the volatility, right? Like a hedge against inflation, like we all use it for. But, if you have money in the soon bucket available, you can leave your money in the later bucket alone if times are tough and volatility is in the market. So it just gives people a layer of protection like that, like I said, that safety belt that they can dip into when times are not so good on their other long-term accounts. And it just provides a lot of security that they have that safety belt.
That's awesome. Now we are winding down our 30 minutes together, but for Lisa and Grace, as we're wrapping up, what advice would you give financial advisors who want to better serve women clients and how can they more lean into the bucket plan to address women's concerns and financial needs? Lisa, I'll start with you.
The best advice I can give is to focus on education and empowerment. Women don't just want to be told what to do with their money. They want to understand why. And this is why the bucket plan is an excellent tool because it makes the complex financial decisions more approachable. Make sure you walk them through each bucket, use real life examples like what Grace and I just did. We gave some examples to the clients, help them connect to the plan and their personal goals. And that comes because you listened to them in the first place. And most importantly, create a safe space for them to ask questions and voice their concerns. And like Grace, I've had both female and male clients cry with me, and that's why I keep a box of tissue on my desk. Don't be afraid to share a piece of yourself with the client, especially women clients, because we never want it to be one-sided. We want that connection. So if they share something, share something. I remember telling a client one time, TMI. And she's like, no, it humanizes you because you're telling me all these facts and stuff. And now I'm like, oh, she's not just a robot. She's a human. She's listening to me because I tend to go into the engineer mode because, of my background at NASA. It's like facts, 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 facts. And I have to remember, you've got to put that emotion there. You have to, clients, especially women clients, they want to feel heard because it's not about the money. Most of them don't care to see the $1 million in their account. They want to know that they can live the way they've been living and they're not going to run out of money.
Amazing. Grace, your final thoughts?
Yeah, great point, Lisa. To that point, just the connection, I would say that advisors should really listen with the intent that they're being, like Lisa said, they don't want to be told what to do. They want to understand the why. Personally, I host workshops for all my clients. A lot of them are women and bring their girlfriends and their, friends that they know. I'm having one next Thursday about legacy planning workshop. So just educating people, a free place, like no pressure. This isn't a seminar where people feel pressured to do business. It's just come, bring your friends, let them know kind of what we're doing to help women feel empowered and educated. And the referrals are awesome. So I highly recommend, like Lisa said, just promoting a lot of education and empowerment for your female clients. But everyone needs it. Let's be honest.
I agree. Lisa, Grace, thank you so much. You guys are always a pleasure. The ladies of C2P, thank you for being present. Our male support, thank you for being present as well. We are in this together. So if you've got questions on how to communicate with women, you want to get better, reach out. I've got a great book that can help. And we're here to support all of our advisors move the needle and help more female clients. Have a great day. And whatever you do, make it a great day and do the best thing you can for your clients. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bucket Plan on Demand, brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Subscribe today for the latest episodes and insights. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help support and enhance your advisory business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.